I'm Sultan Abdrahiman George, working for Vita for the last 8 years as head of Green Impact Fund. Let us start from the global perspective. Now the world have passed its limits. A lot of global engagement have been initiated. Let us take to back to the Kyoto and also now from the recent 2015 of the Paris Agreement. All of them initiative really having in order to tackling the climate change globally and also just making the world all that really habitable and also good living condition for the humans in order to be focusing on the climate change mitigations. Now, Ethiopia have also driven and developed a lot of strategies, policies contributing to the global initiative. Like, for example, the national determined contribution, sustainable energy, clean water access, and clean energy, really the initiative at national level in order to contribute to the global level of the climate change initiative. So Ethiopia have been live and also focusing on different initiatives to be contributing globally. So Vita have also just contributing to the overall climate change and climate action. That's why initiating of the Vita's Green Impact Fund, it was started with a pilot, with a very small initiative of testing how this is working. Like, for example, in South, we have been started with a small number of cookstove production, distribution and dissemination, repairing of the broken water points in a very small levels. Then, now we have seen the impact and also we have now just scaling up to the wider perspective of the contribution. We have been starting the stove with the traditional way of production and distribution. Then we have seen that the low adoption really, we could not able to travel a long journey in order to contribute in meeting the visions and contribution of what we have been started. Then we seen in standing off and making that, designing how to be increase the uptake of these technologies. Then that's the place where in the time the community-led total stop approach came on board, because that is the community-led initiative. All the development have been led by the community by themselves, and also just increasing the adoption of the new technologies. Generally, this journey is shown that we are traveling, start with the village, now to the national level. It's really a long journey. We can see the engagement of women and also the gender, because it's all of them have really highly interrelated. When we talk about the stove and when we talk about the water, 100% really we are targeting the women and the girl, because they are the one collecting the fuel wood. They are the one cooking the food. They are the one caring the children. They are the one really cooking the food for the entire family. And they are the one really fetching the water. They are the one really cleaning all of the kitchens and also basically like expected to be boiling of the water for the drinking. So the Green Impact Fund really 100% focusing on response for the gender and also really supporting the women and the girl. When we are intervening to start the stove project, we are providing fuel efficient stoves. Technologies are really, we have rely on that have been certified and also approved by the national government. That technology is really tested, demonstrated by the government with their thermal efficiency, their emission reduction, how much they are really efficient. So we are using the technologies really approved by the Ethiopian government, so Ministry of Water and Energy. Then we are locally organized the cooperatives. They are supported and capacitated for the production of the local stoves. The uniqueness of the Vita Green Impact Fund really is a community-based, which really from the supply side and as well as from the demand side. All of the production really in the local level. More than 10 producers really engaged on, owned by the women. So they are the one really on the local based. So which means this will really important for the sustainability of that technology in the community, because they can easily replace, they can easily access the parts when it's a breakage, and also they know to be fixed easily. When we are making assessment or maybe making the studies on the uptake or the adoption of the cook stove, affordability and access is one of the critical bottlenecks in order to hinder the uptake of that technologies. They are creating and also just providing the loan or credit access for those households who could not able to be paid on spot. because the farmers or the rural communities, the critical bottlenecks really having of the liquid cash, their income from the agricultural productions, because particularly during some seasons, their income is very low, but in some season their income is increasing. So during their income is increasing, they can pay their credit or their loan back to the cooperatives, and they can sign an agreement in order to access the credit facilities from the rural saving and credit. So the engagement of the rural saving credit cooperatives really have increasing one of the uptakes, because all of the communities should have to be access that technology. That's why we're providing the engagement of the rural saving and credit cooperative. So more than 40,000 stoves have been distributed within a very short period of time. Tree planting is really one of the key aspects that is engaged in, because we provide the technologies really still using some of the biomass or some of the wood fuels. So in order to keep the balance of the biomass in that area, each household who's really having the cook stove expected to be planted 20 trees each. More than 500,000 tree planting have ready to be planted. During the project of the entire of the project, more than 2 million trees will be planted for the stove users directly. It's multi-purpose trees, like fruit trees, like the moringa, fuel wood trees, the biomass of the natural resource areas. The main issue of really the stove program really have a lot of beneficials, like in the household level, like in the macro level, like in the household level, there are a lot of impact, like in the health in the family, because of reducing the indoor air pollutions of that is improved cook stove compared to the traditional. So when we are providing the stove, that is the health impact. We are not really having the stove program alone, regardless of leaving alone the tree planting, because we have to keep the overall balance of the biomass in that area. So that's creating of jobs. The cooperative really recruiting the youth when we are producing the stove. So it's really creating the job for the youth. Then when transporting, engagement for the job creation for the youth, transporting, distributions, local economies have really contributing for the local economies in the community level. The households really very happy actually, because having the correlation between the tree planting and also with the stove. We have been addressing more than 50,000 households. The overall ecosystem have contributing for the food securities and also for even for the climate. When we are planting the tree, it really have contribution for the different ecosystem and also the natural resource regenerating. Soil, water, and also the natural system, ecosystem really contributing for the food production and also the productivity of the area. When we brought the community-led total stove, we are comparing the previous uptake of this technology. This technology have been already there. So we have even quantifying that. The adoption rate is less than 20% with the traditional way of distribution of these technologies. When we brought the community-led total stove approach, it takes more than 90% plus. The solution really providing of the improved or fuel efficient cook stove. How the community-led approach really igniting the communities and reaching for the collective action is not pushing from the external. It's really by themselves to be lead all the process. There is natural leaders emerging of the natural leaders. That's why emerging the community-led development to the other areas, to the agriculture, to the forestry, to the moringa, to the water. So that's why it's really working very well, tested and demonstrated. We are really very highly involved, engaged with the federal level, regional level, zonal and the community level. In the federal level, with the Ministry of Water and Energy, our key partner for Vita Green Impact Fund. So we have really very good communication and engagement with the federal level to the regional level and also to the federal and zonal level. So they are the one supporting us. Cooking habits is entirely different from other countries because, one of the challenges actually when we are sharing experience with other African countries, most of the African countries really using the boiling or making the porridge or making the posho or maybe the ugali. They are the one really. But when it comes to Ethiopia, it's entirely different. Every household have the injeras and also the sauce or the stew. So we have to have two stoves. That's why. Like the mirt is really for the baking of injera or making the bread. The feeding and the cooking habit is really entirely different among the regions. Our program really understanding this context. But in area where there is no forest, the fuel source is cow dung. So we are understanding and also customizing the situation among themselves. When we are making the overall Vita Green Impact Fund, it's really supported with the community-led learning center. Because when we are implementing or maybe just working with these big projects like a flagship program for Vita, so it's have to be supported with the actual research. So the community-led learning center, led by the community-led learning project lead, making the quick assessment and also like an actual research for anything that is emerging during the operations. We are making very quick survey analysis and also any corrective actions to be bring on track of the program. So the center really supporting as part of the research aspect and closely working with the Abdrahiman universities. That center really have an engagement partnership agreement with the Abdrahiman University. So the Abdrahiman University also they're supporting as an academic institutions and supporting. For example, in last year we have been supported 2 master's students engaged as part of their master's studies, scientific research and finding for the improvement of the program, so that we have been used. One of the thematic areas really on top of the stove and tree planting, the third big area of the Vita Green Impact Fund is really access to safe and clean water to the rural setup. More than 50% of the rural water scheme broken is non-functional. So a large portion of the community just engaged in accessing from unsafe source of the water for their drinking. So based on that, we start to engage in order to be repairing of the broken water points. So we are making the assessment and also providing of the support for the spare parts, and then that's water point rehabilitated. Then the community from unsafe source back to the safe source of the rehabilitated water schemes. When we say safe source, for example, the borehole or maybe the protected spring in the rural setup, these 2 technologies really the very predominant type of technology for the rural water access. Borehole and pump, and also the protected spring. The borehole is really the pump that's the mechanically operating and charging of the groundwater. When rehabilitate that water schemes, it's 100% safe. It's not expected to be boiling. More than 100,000 population really accessing safe and clean water. For the coming Vita Green Impact Fund, more than 1 million population will access safe and clean water for the coming 2 or 3 years of the project implementation in the northern part of the countries like in Amhara and South Gondar zone. The government also really happy because of the engagement in the safe and clean water, because one of the national strategy providing safe clean water for the rural setup.